spending hundreds of millions of dollars to make hideous things is a political act, a left-wing political act, because leftism hates beauty. Obama's obscene monument to his ego dramatically backfires as $850 million vanity project sparks outrage. Reading on, President Barack Obama's promise to build and revitalize blighted neighborhoods was a centerpiece of his first term in the White House. But now, nearly 9 years after he left the Oval Office, he might be destroying one critical area in the city he called home. His $850 million presidential center in Chicago, due to open in April, has come under fire from residents, community leaders, and one-time supporters who now warn that the massive 19.3-acre facility is gentrifying the neighborhood, increasing rent, and forcing families out. Alderwoman Jeanette Taylor, who represents much of the area where the center is being built, told the Daily Mail she's a fan of Obama and believes in the project, but has fought aspects of it to protect her constituents. Her efforts have had mixed results. She said, we're going to see rents go higher. We're going to see families displaced. Every time large development comes to communities, they displace the very people they say they want to improve it for. This was no different, and we're living what is actually happening. The city of Chicago should have done a community benefits agreement before the first shovel went into the ground, but they didn't. So people are complaining about this giant monument that Obama has built to himself. Many of the complaints are legitimate. Some of them are dumb. Gentrification, as if gentrification isn't obviously a good thing. So, that's stupid. But generally, yeah, they're right to be annoyed. Yet nobody, if you read the whole article, nobody hits on the worst thing about Obama's monument to himself, which is that the thing is an absolute monstrosity. It's one of the ugliest buildings ever designed. So let's we'll put some pictures of this thing up on the screen so you can see it. And just look at this thing. This massive windowless hunk of concrete. It looks like a villain's lair. It looks like a giant prison where you keep supervillains. It looks like if you walk into this thing that, Magneto will be in there in a glass box. That's what it looks like. It looks like a prison where they keep Magneto. It looks like a picture of a building that an emotionally disturbed child would draw on lined paper. It's hideous. It's like a doomsday bunker.
This is unconstitutional. Sound familiar? Well, of course it does. Every pundit, podcaster, and YouTube expert throws this phrase around like confetti at a New Year's party. But here's a wild thought. Instead of just nodding along with whatever hot take crossed your feed this morning, have you ever actually cracked open the Constitution yourself? That dusty old document everyone claims to be defending, but apparently nobody has time to read. That's why I'm thrilled that Hillsdale College is offering a brand new free online course called The Federalist. The Federalist Papers were written primarily by Alexander Hamilton and James Madison to explain how our Constitution creates a government strong enough to protect your rights, but safe enough not to trample them. The founders knew we'd need to stay vigilant to preserve Republican self-government, and that responsibility falls on us today. I personally love that Hillsdale's course breaks it all down in 10 digestible 30-minute lectures that you can take at your own pace, which comes in handy for those of us with busy schedules. It's completely free. Definitely worth your time. Plus, they've got over 40 other free courses covering everything from C.S. Lewis to Roman history to ancient Christianity. Not bad for the price of, well, absolutely nothing. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/Walsh to enroll. There's no cost. It's easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu/Walsh to enroll for free. hillsdale.edu/Walsh.
It's like a tower where an evil wizard would live. It's very ugly, is what I'm saying. And in that way, it's the perfect monument to Obama. Obscene, ugly, cumbersome, sinister. Really does capture Obama's essence, you have to admit. And it captures the essence of the ideological movement that he represents. It's a movement that hates beauty. Everything starts to make more sense. So much of what's happening in our culture kind of makes sense when you realize that these people, leftists, hate beauty. They hate things that are beautiful. That's why they've gone out of the way to make everything ugly. Ugly buildings, ugly art, ugly music, ugly people. Why is leftism associated with copious facial piercings and ridiculously colored, unnatural hair? I mean, if you see a woman who's morbidly obese and has a septum piercing and green hair, you immediately know her political ideology. Why is that? I mean, it's worth thinking about. It's become a meme. It's a cliche. We talk about the blue hairs and the green hairs, and it's cliched at this point, but it's also true. It's cliche for a reason. But why is that? Why is green hair political? I mean, how could a hair color have a political party? How could a piercing signify your ideological alignment? How could that be? Well, the answer is that green hair is ugly. Septum piercings are ugly. A woman who dyes her hair blonde, that doesn't necessarily tell you anything about her politics, because blonde hair can be attractive. But green hair cannot be. Like, by definition, it's not. Humans don't have that color hair. So it's ugly, it's weird, it's bizarre. And leftism celebrates and elevates ugliness. Just like if I showed you Obama's presidential library and you didn't have any context at all, and I didn't tell you whose library it was, and I told you it was a presidential library for an American president of the past 50 years, if that's all I told you, you would immediately guess that it must be a Democrat president. And then you'd probably guess Obama just by process of elimination. I mean, he's the most left-wing of the Democrats. How do you know that? How could you make that guess? Well, because it's hideous. And making hideous things on purpose, spending $100 million to make hideous things, is a political act, a left-wing political act, because leftism hates beauty.
If you'd like to see what else I have to say, you can access my full show by going to dailywire.com or by going to the Matt Walsh Show Twitter page. Hope to see you there. Godspeed.